The following review is intended for entertainment purposes and targeted for adult fans of the series.
They found that the strongest creatures they could find were the dinosaurs and dragons on Earth. It is a blooper. Hello there, heroes! I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to something that is not another Kamen Rider Dragon Knight episode review. And no, Power Rangers itself, the TV show, is not back just yet, but something Power Rangers related popped up recently. First things first, you may have noticed another little change. This thing. Although, honestly, in my camera's monitor, with my beard this bushy and my hair this long, I can't really see it, so I don't know if you can see it, but probably. But yes, I am wearing a headset microphone. The microphone issues that I was having where the mic would just cut off from the computer and it wouldn't see that it was there and it would stop recording audio, not only continued, but kept getting worse, happening more often. This was mainly affecting me over on my Let's Play channel, Orange Ranger Plays, but it was also messing with things here because I had started using that same method to record audio for these videos. So for now, I'm doing what I'm also doing on that channel, recording with this headset microphone. I'm not in love with its audio. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but a wise person who I can't exactly remember right now said, it was actually YouTube, come to think of it, the best equipment you have to record videos is the equipment that you have. So I have this. My apologies for the audio quality for the next couple of episodes, probably as I look into getting myself a proper USB microphone. In 2016, I reviewed the rather excellent MMPR prequel fan film, Zordon of Eltar. In fact, I always intended to follow up that review with a review of the fan film that comes after it, Teenagers with Attitude, which came out in 2014. So yes, Zordon of Eltar was not only a prequel to MMPR, but to the fan film whose story follows it up.
Space is warped and time is bendable.
Well, it turns out that just a year after Zordon of Eltar, another MMPR fan film came out. Apparently. Because I don't remember a single thing about this, and hardly anyone else that I've seen remembers it either. The film languished in obscurity until this past week, when Power Rangers Scoop Twitter account Jinsaku posted about it being on the free television website Tubi. Out of morbid curiosity, I watched about 5 or 10 minutes in the middle of the movie, and then sent out my own tweet declaring that this would have to see a review. So, without further ado, I present my recap and review of MMPR, The Last Ranger Parody VII.
Please make sure you're subscribed to the channel.
Yeah, and make sure you got your notifications set up by hitting that little bell icon.
Right you. What he said was, you can consider checking us out on Patreon or Ko-fi at Orange Ranger Videos.
Okay, I suppose that is one more ado we've got to do. For some reason, Parody VII, 7 in Roman numerals, is appended to the title of this movie. The parody part is included for obvious reasons. That's why this film can be made at all. It's protected by fair use. But why 7? Nobody seems to be sure. The general idea is that it's part of the parody, but it's not the 7th movie in a series. Maybe it's the 7th MMPR fan film that the writer is aware of existing? Anyway, okay, now go. PDC Productions takes the lead production logo credit here. I found a stage production company called PDC Productions, and I will say that one of the actresses in the movie has a primary career in stage production. It's really hard to tell whether it's actually the same company, but there you go. And yes, even in the logo reveal of the movie at the very start of it, Parody VII is included, a la Saban's Power Rangers. This film does not pull its punches. The very first shot we see is downtown Angel Grove in full-on apocalypse mode. Buildings destroyed and fallen over, wrecked cars all over the place. We see a sign for Ernie's Juice Bar, but it's attached to a big, tall office building, not the short, wide building that we saw on the show. Hey, maybe Ernie franchised in this universe, and these are the corporate headquarters. A blonde woman with a big gun and a Fallout-like giant wrist monitor thing walks around looking uncertain. Right off the bat, you can see that they're working with what they have. The background is clearly computer generated, and the actress is green screened in. But it's not clear in a bad way. This is as good as they could possibly do. The lighting is very well balanced to make her look like she's part of a scene, and the gravel sound effect crunching under her feet really places her within that scene.
Get on with it!
Yes, alright, sorry. Less notes on the production, more notes on the plot. Though really both are part of a well-rounded review. She keeps looking around, finding someone who's dead, and then gets attacked by putties. We have the masks and we have the gloves, but we don't have the suits, so the putties are wearing these long black cloaks with hoods. She's getting beaten up a bit until a man in a long brown coat shows up, kicking their clay butts and telling her to run. Somewhere, somehow, she lost her gun. However, she's ambushed by a couple of more putties. She does a little bit better fighting these ones off and then finds the gun that I don't know how she lost. She zaps the two and they kind of burn up and turn solid in, again, a really good visual effect. She shatters their formless remains. The coat man does a lot of spin kicks, and then we get a kind of a funny moment. She runs back over to him and kind of gestures at him with the gun, like, "You want me to shoot him?" He nods and ducks, and she blasts him, then Tallahassee double-tapping the two on the ground. The two honestly spend about 5 awkward seconds too long just looking around and being concerned. Finally, he says that her gun is a supernova rifle, which pegs her as a member of the Alliance. She says that she's out looking for her friends and family, despite the danger being out here alone, because nobody else will. He says that she's a brave woman and asks her name. It's Emily, and when he starts to introduce himself, she says that she already knows who he is. Jason. They call him the savior of the world, the savior of Angel Grove, which kind of makes sense because Angel Grove is part of the world. He spots an elephant necklace that she wears, and she calls it a good luck charm. Just to be clear about this is never followed up on. He says they have to go before more putties show up, but she wants to keep looking. He gets a call from Alpha 6, and we don't have any of the yo from the original Alpha 6. This Alpha 6 is more of a normal human girl. A normal human girl. Alpha 6 in this universe is a cyborg, a normal human face with a cybernetic eyepiece a la 7 of 9, while the rest of the body sports the more traditional Alpha look. He asks her, and yes, because Alpha is sporting a female appearance in this film, I am going to refer to Alpha as she and her, to broadcast his message to anyone capable of receiving it, which she can do by routing it through the morphing grid because of science. He calls out to anyone who might hear him, asking them to respond. Now, mind you, he asked Alpha to route this message to anyone who could receive it. If they're hearing this message, for example, on a boombox, they probably don't have a way to reply. There's no response, and Alpha can't detect anyone, to Emily's disbelief. I originally said in the script here, suddenly there are soldiers, but thinking back on it now, having seen the entire movie, this is really just a hard cut to another location, and someone calls Jason on his communicator. The, or at least a, leader of a military presence reports to Jason that they've brought in 2 men and 1 woman in stable condition. Jason says they're on their way in. Emily still refuses to leave. Hey, Emily, Alpha just said no survivors detected. Jason says he will help her look for her family, but they're gonna have to do things his way. She relents, saying that they can take her truck back to the shelter, but he says no, he's got a faster way. They pull the "do you trust me" line from Aladdin, but kind of ruin the moment as Jason then just directly explains that they're going to teleport. She gets so concerned about this that she puts an earpiece in for some reason. Hey, makes this kind of appropriate at least. The two of them pause and look over at the ruined exterior of Angel S. Grove High School.
What did you say?
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is an attempt at a cute reference that just didn't really land or a genuine confusion. You see, the exterior shots of Angel Grove High School were shot at a real California high school, Ulysses S. Grant High School. So the S reference kind of makes sense, except that it doesn't, because the S is a middle initial in a person's name. Angel Grove is not a person's name. Did they think the city of Angel Grove was named after a person, Angel S. Grove? I don't mean to harp on a small point, but it's just weird. I could sort of understand if this were a cute reference, like the S on school had been blasted over between there and it was just kind of hanging kind of catty corner between Angel and Grove, but no, it's very firmly and clearly in place with a period, Angel S. Grove.
That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
Oh, for Zordon's sake, they even take away the possibility of my little reference about another letter being blasted away from somewhere else by flashing back with the same sign, and it looks totally fine with this in the middle of it anyway. Jason and Trini are sitting on a bench nearby, I guess. Jason is checking on Trini, and she says that she's okay, just as this war is a lot, and considering how good things look around them, I'm assuming in this case the war is just referring to the ongoing battle and random attacks with Rita Repulsa. Jason agrees with her, dropping one of the standard questions from people outside the franchise about this franchise: why teenagers? But, he says, the power coins chose them for a reason. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Yes, some power items in this franchise do choose their rangers. The Dino Gems, for example. The power coins were given to the rangers by Zordon. He was the one that chose them.
Okay, dude, calm down. Take a chill.
Shut your hypothetical face! Jason asks her what's really bothering her, because apparently a constant battle for the fate of your planet isn't worrisome enough to be mentally stressful. Trini says it's Goldar. Every time she fights Goldar one-on-one, she gets a creepy vibe from him, like it's fetishistic for him, and she hates him for it. Jason rather woodenly promises Trini that he will protect her from Goldar and that they are going to win this fight. As the flashback ends, an earpiece appears on his ear, and I'm not saying it's like suddenly there. I'm saying a visual effect places an earpiece on his ear. So I guess you have to have one on to teleport, and they teleport to the shelter. A Colonel Banner greets Jason at the shelter, promising him any help he needs from the Angel Grove Defense Alliance, then leaving himself to go look for more survivors and to make greater plans. We then meet the man that was talking to Jason earlier about the other survivors being brought in, Damien. Damien tells Jason that the Alliance is managing so far. Then he turns to Emily and tells her off for taking off on her own. She says that she got a distress signal, that's what she was investigating, but he tells her next time to report to him before just taking off. Jason decides that this is a fine time to have a random conversation with a kid sitting nearby, Jasmine. She asks him if he thinks the war is ever going to end, and he says that it's going to. She gives him a locket to give to her father if her father is still alive. He not only promises that he is, with absolutely no way of knowing that, telling the kid what she wants to hear, etc., etc. Don't make promises, though, if you don't know for sure. But also pulls the kind of tropey, I'll not only give this to him, but bring him back here so he can give it back to you. Damien pulls Jason aside for a private conversation, and as you might imagine, the cheese is starting to get binding. He says that they're running out of provisions and can't afford to just keep sitting still and looking for survivors. Jason says that he needs just a little bit more time. They've almost cracked into the morphing grid and gotten access to the Zords. Interesting that they don't have access to the Zords now. Alpha is operational. Damien even says that he wishes Jason had the other Rangers to help, to which he agrees. Aisha is also standing nearby. This is kind of a slight down note for the film at this point, but these last three, not even really scenes, but dialogue exchanges, have taken place on the same set, which kind of gives this a community theater feel, especially since the camera hardly ever moves, kind of stays in the same two-dimensional plane and just zooms in on different parts of the set. Aisha tells Jason that he doesn't have to do this alone, and he says it's kind of funny that she says that. He pulls out his T-Rex power coin and says the coin speaks to him. It told him that Aisha also has the power inside her. If that means what he thinks it means, he knows what he has to do. Break into Rita's moon palace and take back the other power coins. Aisha says that's suicide. They even tried to nuke the moon once, and thanks to Rita's magic, it didn't do a thing. He says he's working on another plan regarding that and promises to keep her up to date on it. Jason goes to leave, but Emily pops back up and insists on going along. He says that they're going somewhere very sacred, and they teleport away, Damien looking around ominously after they leave. We head to a spaceship on the moon, which was making me think Astro Megaship, possibly, but no. Apparently this is Rita's palace. Goldar approaches Rita, wanting to press the attack. Really quick, Goldar is actually pretty spot on to the TV show, especially the voice. They did a really good job on that. Rita is kind of an ironic case of talking about a fan film based on a campy television show. She's actually rather downplayed, calm and calculating, and even somewhat seductive. She tells Goldar that the putty attack has the humans on their guard, so it's a bad time right now. But she does have a plan in motion, and once that plan succeeds, she'll send Goldar down to Earth, all giant-sized. Back at the base, Damien proceeds to go behind Jason's back. He directly asks the Colonel when he thinks they should attack, because their forces are ready right now. The Colonel, of course, says that they'll attack when Jason says it's time to attack. Damien sarcastically responding that, oh, Jason just seems to rule the world now. The Colonel says that the human technology that they have does not come anywhere close to matching Jason's morphing grid technology. Damien doesn't care, even pointing out that the Alliance forces have taken down some of Rita's monsters on their own, name-dropping Guy. We find out that, of course, this is about revenge. Damien lost his family in the war. Oddly, he says it's about making sure they draw first blood before Rita does. Dude, have you taken a look around outside lately? Your city, and probably most of your planet, is practically destroyed. I'm pretty sure Rita's already drawn first blood.
Do you know the Klingon proverb that tells us revenge is a dish that is best served cold?
Damien makes what's going to happen next really, really clear without coming right out and saying it. The colonel tells him that he's overheated right now, he should go lie down and get some rest, but Damien insists right now that the colonel tell him right now whether he's with him or against him right now. The colonel finally says that his decision stands. Jason is the one in charge. Damien very calmly says that he will go and await further orders from Jason, but that the colonel is going to regret those words.
Suspense!
We head over to a different spaceship, and then seeing Alpha 6 inside, this is clearly the command center. We seem to be taking some inspiration from that other 2017 Power Rangers movie, the one that actually came out in theaters. Lots of spaceships. Emily meets Alpha 6 and Zordon, and I love Zordon. It's just a white hologram of a bald dude with a 5 o'clock shadow, eyes whited out for mystical effect. It's incredible in its cheesiness. Jason refers to the command center as a type of power chamber, another cute little reference. Emily asks for the backstory, and Zordon delivers without a moment of hesitation. Before time was time. I can't decide if that line is too cheesy or just cheesy enough. The galaxy was a dangerous place, and on the planet of Eltar lived a race called the Zetas. The Zetas were small and kind of weak, but really, really smart, and harnessing the power of ancient gods from the far corners of the galaxy, they crafted the 6 power coins. The dragon coin uses the goofy Godzilla symbol instead of the Dragon Claw symbol. The Zetas then invented a weapon to enhance the strength of the coin holders, clearly referring to the morphers, although it's a little weird to refer to the morpher as a weapon. Then they decided they needed a symbol to represent the power of the coins. They scoured the known galaxy, and the strongest creatures they could find were the dinosaurs and dragons on Earth. It is nice that they included dragons in this to cover the Green Ranger. It's not so nice that at least 2 of the other 5 are not actually dinosaurs. Make that 3 of the other 5, because it turns out pterodactyls are also not dinosaurs. This is why the term prehistoric beasts is a good catch-all. The coin holders use the morphers to become rangers and try to deal with monsters on the ground. If the monster is too much to handle, they get into their individual Zords. If it's still too much to handle, they combine their power crystals and form a Megazord. Then this becomes that Q&A session from actually several episodes of RPM. Emily asks why they don't just start with the Zords. Well, I mean, you have Zordon's rule about escalation, right?
Oh, good guess. Wrong, though.
In this universe, Zordon gives a practical explanation, saying that using the Zords at the start drains their energy too quickly. The Zords are more of a last resort and should only be used if there are no other options. Then Emily asks why the Rangers have different colors. I mean, better for the toys, right? That's my joke, not theirs. I should be clear. They use some meta humor, so I should be clear about that. But this does get kind of interesting. Remember how Zordon said the Zetas harness the power of the ancient gods, but then use the symbols of the dinosaurs?
No.
The powers of the gods are represented in the morphers by their colors. Each color assigned to a specific morpher. In this case, the T-Rex power coin does not make you the Red Ranger. It makes you the T-Rex Ranger. Emily speculates that you could put the T-Rex power coin into the yellow morpher and become a yellow T-Rex Ranger. Jason says they never tried that, so he doesn't know if it would work. Emily asks where the 6th coin is. I'm guessing she might have some Alliance intel that Rita has the other 4 power coins, because other than that, I don't even know how she would know that Jason has a power coin. Zordon says that Rita is still in possession of 6 coins. This line is either miswritten or misspoken, because Jason still has the T-Rex power coin. What's meant by this is that Rita is still in possession of the 6th coin. Okay, we start to work on where this is taking place in the timeline of the show because clearly some things have already happened. Emily asks why the Green Ranger looks different. It turns out the Zetas made chest shields for all of the Rangers. The other 5 chest shields were destroyed in an ancient war. The Dragon Shield is currently being held onto by an old friend whose powers were destroyed by Rita's melting green candle.
Could it be Dennis Hopper? Meryl Streep Dennis Hopper? Or Meryl Streep? Those are your answers. TikTok.
How do you become a Power Ranger? With a morpher, duh, and Jason does have the red morpher, which allows him to become the red T-Rex Ranger. Who's Rita Repulsa? Geez, this is like a Mass Effect game with endless dialogue questions. We're eating the backstory with a fork lift right now. Rita is the daughter of Master Vile, a powerful sorceress with magic and power. This sentence is even funnier than I thought at first. I only caught the power part at first, but a sorceress is a woman who uses magic. She's a powerful magic user with magic and power.
25, 24, 2023, 2022.
If Rita gets all 6 power coins, she can channel their combined power to become invincible or something. Emily wants to know what happened to the other Power Rangers. Jason says they're dead. Emily asks if he's sure about this because I'm starting to think that she doubts death as a basic concept. He says he knows for a fact that Zach and Kimberly are dead. Billy and Trini could be captured in Rita's palace.
Who knows? Not me. Who cares? Ditto mark.
So, what is their plan to deal with Rita? Well, it's already underway. The Rangers have already taken care of Rita's monsters. You see, they killed Finster, who we see a hologram of that's really just a picture from the show, and then went to the planet Protopia, a planet that has clay similar to Earth, and did something there. They don't say. It's just, and then the Rangers went to Protopia, a planet with clay similar to Earth, and that's it. Jason plans to take the Megazord to the moon and break Rita's house, but Rita cast a spell on the Zords where they can't be controlled without their respective power coins. This is what they were talking about with the whole hacking into the grid to get the Zords. Jason could very likely control his own T-Rex Zord, but he can't form the Megazord without the other 4 power coins. I thought that was a safety feature of the Zords anyway, not a spell that Rita had to cast on them, but hey. Alpha detects a disturbance in Delta with human life signs nearby. Jason and Emily teleporting away to deal with that. They arrive, but find nothing. No people, no putties, nothing. Jason tells Emily to stay sharp since the putties could still be nearby. Emily takes this as her cue to begin crushing on Jason immediately, talking about his brave heroics, the legend of Jason Scott. And then she steals his morpher.
Uh-oh, we're in trouble.
Damien and the Alliance soldiers show up, Damien congratulating Emily for her loyalty to Rita Repulsa. Jason asks how she could do this. Hey, you know that family that she was really worried about and trying to find? Yeah, that's why. And now, mark this point, about 26 minutes into the movie, because this is where I think the tone really starts to shift away from the campiness of Power Rangers. Jason tells Emily that she is going to die for this. She says, not before he does, maybe subtly reflecting on her knowledge that this is a Faustian bargain, and she leaves. Damien starts ranting, his 2 primary points being 1, Rita's magic is unbeatable, so hey, winning side trope, and 2, that Zordon made a mistake giving the power to a punk kid instead of a military expert. Damian says if he had the power of the Red Ranger, this war would already be over. He asks Jason how the morpher works, and Jason promptly tells him to go to hell, but then kind of backtracks and says if Damian can knock him down in a fight, he'll let him know how the morpher works. This fight showcases what's going to be one of the biggest knocks against this film. It's fight choreography. Everything is painfully rehearsed and done at rehearsal speed. There's no ramping of the footage to make it look like they're going full speed. Sometimes they slow the footage down to get a dramatic effect, but it doesn't really help. Jason knocks Damian down, so Damian has his guards attack. The guards eventually knock Jason down, but that wasn't the deal, so no dice. But Damian yells and yells, mainly saying that he will figure out how the morpher works eventually, so Jason gives in. Say it's morphin' time, raise the morpher to the sky, call out the name of the beast on the coin. Raise the morpher to the sky. They say this on the show as well. And you know, I have only seen one iteration of MMPR anywhere where they actually raise the morpher to the sky. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers for the Super Nintendo, which I did a Let's Play of over on Orange Ranger Plays. Cross-promotion, please go watch my other channel. I'm playing Far Cry 6 right now, which is rated M for mature, so you have to be over 17, really over 18, but that channel really is kind of barely alive, and it's kind of depressing not to see it doing better numbers, so maybe you could watch some of the other series, and hey, where was I? Right, I was just saying, the sky is not directly in front of you. Anyway, Damian does a really dramatic morph dance. The morpher opens, and now we know why they included the plot point that the power coins chose them. The morpher zaps him and falls back to Jason, who explains about the coin choosing him. He morphs, and once again, another really good visual effect. The suit forms onto his body with energy, the helmet forming on last. It's a regular-looking MMPR red helmet, maybe one of the Lightning Collection helmets, although this might predate the Lightning Collection. Anyway, the suit, though, is, wow. It's not a bad-looking suit, it's just very, very complex. Lots of little individual pieces of armor, looking much more like a Red Sentry suit than the Red Ranger suit. There is a coin symbol on the chest, which I am professed in the past to hating, but it's sitting on a metal plate on top of two, I don't know, air channel circles. It looks fine. A guard takes a shot at him with a bullet, with a gun, but using his HUD, he's able to deflect the bullet back, shooting the soldier. This, of course, means that everyone should shoot bullets at him now, but he lets those just bounce off of his suit. Damian sends the guards in to attack physically, and this is really the point in the movie where the tone takes a huge nosedive. Jason beats the first guard up, fine, no big deal, kicks him aside. He grabs the second guard's arm, twists it down, and strikes up from underneath, breaking the guard's arm. That's pretty brutal, isn't it? Yeah, he then kicks that same guard down to his knees and snaps his neck. Then he grabs the third guard, also gets him down to his knees, draws his blade blaster, and slits that guard's throat. It's not terribly graphic, just... ugh.
Ew, that was completely unnecessary! Disgusting!
Jason slices up the last guard with the blade blaster, leaving just Damian. He invites Damian to punch him, which he does, breaking his hand. He then beats Damian up. Damian complains about being left injured, but Jason says he should be thankful to be alive at all. But not for long, because he's leaving him for Rita to finish off. Speaking of which, in something thing of a jump cut. Rita and Goldar do indeed show up later, and she does, like, magically strangle Damien or something. She explains to Goldar, somewhat unclearly, that she needs the original 5 power coins before Lord Zed gets to Earth, so she can draw all of their power. If Lord Zed gets to Earth before this happens, she'll have to just fall in line to him. He'll get all of the coins and become even more powerful than her. Earlier, Zordon said that all 6 of the coins were made at the same time. I don't really think it's a matter of having all of the original 5 power coins, as that you have 4 of them and the dragon coin. You still need the T-Rex coin to have all 6. She sends Goldar to go kill Jason, even asking him to bring her his head. And another positive point for this show's effects, this film's effects. The portals that Rita uses to teleport show a background of where they're going. It's a little CG background, kind of faded and colored into the portal, but it's such a great touch to convey teleportation. Meanwhile, Rita casts a spell on Damien's body that will eventually resurrect her brother, Rito Revolto. She feels her strength weakening and says there's something else she has to go do, leaving. Jason contacts Alpha and asks if there were any other survivors in the warehouse, and she says no. Goldar then shows up, and we get some interesting backstory for him, which I think kind of folds in a lot of ideas from his Boom Comics backstory. He comes from a planet of warriors called Lefleduo. Master Vile conquered his world and made him a slave to Rita. But if he kills Jason, the job will be done and he can go back to his people. He even tells Jason that his name is not Goldar. It's Fontoro.
Okay, I guess that makes sense.
Unfortunately, this fight is just really, really bad. The worst of these half-speed fights they have in this film. Meanwhile, actually just remembered that Rita did tell Goldar she was going to the command center to destroy it, so that's what she goes to do. She busts in the doors as Alpha tries to unsuccessfully contact Jason, then has Zordon download their entire martial arts database into her.
I know Kung Fu.
Alpha bravely steps up, to Rita's amusement, and they have themselves a nice little half-speed fight. Rita attacks with magic, but Zordon's able to counteract that with force fields. This is enough to make Rita leave. It's been established that she's weakening, but she drops off a single putty to fight in her place. Hey, no Kamen Rider Dragon Knight review this time, but we still get a single grunt fight. Alpha defeats the putty rather easily. Jason uses the power of spin kicks to knock Fontoro, back. He calls for a rather thin-looking sword, and Jason summons the power sword. The sword combat isn't any better. As a matter of fact, it's worse. I noticed at one point that they had their swords clashed on the wrong sides of the blades, meaning that either one of them could have just pulled down. Jason gets Goldar, Fontoro, on his knees, so of course he starts trash talking. He talks about how he killed the other Rangers, especially Trini, describing it rather brutally. Jason says he's lying, but he just laughs. So Jason cuts off his head. There's a rather visible blood splatter. Jason then picks up the head with the bloody, dripping neck. Admittedly, that part was more goofy than gross. Early Mortal Kombat kind of stuff. And tells Rita that she's next. And Rita must have been listening, because she opens a portal right behind Jason. He walks through the portal, and speaking of Mortal Kombat, right into a Mortal Kombat fight with Rita. Seriously, it's once again on this flat 2D plane, very fighting game, even though the camera does kind of have zoomed cross shots for each of them. Jason demands the coins back. Rita says no. He attacks. She has magical force fields. The background suggests this is taking place in the Dark Dimension. Rita brings up Emily and leads Jason down the path of logic that she used the same spell she used on Tommy on Emily. Jason cares now that it's not just a case of Emily betraying him and demands her back. Rita willingly agrees. Jason also demands the coins back, and this not so much. Even if it means fighting Rita to get the coins and not saving Emily, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one. They don't quote this directly from Star Trek, that would be a little too cheesy, but the concept remains. Things go a little off the rails at this point, and I will admit it was about 1 o'clock in the morning when I was writing this part of the script, but basically, Rita brings Emily to the Dark Dimension, but surprise, in much the same way that she turned Tommy into her evil Green Ranger, she has turned Emily into her evil Shadow Temptress, who Jason has to defeat in order to save Emily. Oh, and at some point during this conversation, Rita created a candle for Emily, like the Green Ranger candle, but instead of being connected to her powers, even her Shadow Temptress powers, it's connected to her life force. Jason can't destroy it, and if it goes all the way down, Emily will die. After some back and forth, Emily summons a very small battle axe, Jason telling her to fight the evil influence. He manages to knock her down and get the axe away from her. He then somehow figures out that he needs to channel his power to use the axe to destroy the candle, and then to destroy the axe. And the axe was apparently like the Sword of Darkness, and I would only put that together, being a fan of the show in the first place, as destroying the axe apparently frees Emily. She's scared. Jason says it's okay. It's not okay. Rita reappears, grabbing them both with magic. Jason breaks free, but Rita drags Emily through a portal back to the moon. On the Palace ship, Rita explains that Emily has been granted the powers of the Shadow Temptress, and now Rita needs to think about what to do. With the spell broken, she's not losing the Shadow Temptress to the Rangers the way that she lost the Green Ranger. She opens a box, which seems to contain the yellow power morpher, and says it's time. Jason stops at the command center, wanting Alpha to teleport him to the moon to rescue Emily, but Alpha doesn't have the coordinates of Rita's base, so she can't do that. He says he's going to go back to the shelter instead, which seems incredibly dangerous, seeing as he was betrayed by the military there, but hey. Instead, we go to the woods, where Tommy is doing handstand workouts when he's approached by Rita. And this gets twisted. She wants him to take the dragon coin one more time, repowered, and kill Jason. But what is she offering in return?
A new car!
No. Kimberly. She brings Kimberly back, or at least an image of Kimberly, for a few moments to beg Tommy, if he loves her, to listen to Rita so they can be together again. Of course, Tommy should know that this is something that Kimberly would never ever say, even to come back from the dead, but hey, love can definitely mess you up. At one point, Tommy asks Rita how he can know that she's going to keep her word. Her answer to this? You have my word.
You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
He has your word that you'll keep your word? What kind of cyclical Anyway, Jason goes back to the shelter where the colonel tells him that they cooperated when Damien staged his little coup, so nobody was hurt. Jason once again insists that this war has nearly come to an end. Rita is growing weak and her soldiers are all gone now. Alpha calls and asks Jason to come back, and he tells the colonel, Dasher, Daniels, Donner, that he'll be back in a day. Alpha detected that Rita went to talk to Tommy. Jason says he's going to check it out, but Alpha stops him to first say that she is sorry about Emily. She has detected that Emily is still Rita's prisoner, Jason planning to go rescue her, but Alpha says that Rita is just waiting for the opportunity to use Emily again. Alpha detected, I guessed, or maybe just realized, that Emily does have romantic feelings for Jason. He's upset about this revelation, wanting to stay objective and serious. Alpha confirms that she's a cyborg, half human, and tells Jason to hold on to hope and not become an embittered soldier. Then Corcus shows up.
What are you talking about?
That's right, Corcus, the Black Aquitar Ranger, with Alan Palmer reprising the role. Now, as far as we know, Jason and Corcus never met directly, and Jason wouldn't meet any of the Aquitar Rangers, Orko, until Forever Red, so naturally he doesn't know who Corcus is or who the Aquitar Rangers are or any of that. Corcus isn't actually there on Earth. It's a hologram call from Aquitar, and the kind of call that Zordon himself made once. Calling you to let you know there's a real bad fight here. We're boned. Things are super, super bad. Don't come rescue us. We're just letting you know forces may be on the way from here. He's telling Jason that he really is the last Ranger now. Roll credits. Master Vile, Lord Zed, and Hydrohog teamed up and are wiping Aquitar out. Jason's only chance at stopping them is to find the Zeo Crystal. Jason asks Corcus if he's a Power Ranger, why can't he come help on Earth? Jason, have you been listening? The man's planet is being invaded. Instead, Corcus tells him that all of Earth's pure water isn't pure anymore, I guess, so he wouldn't last long. The secret of the location of the Zeo crystals has been passed down through the ages only to Rangers, and Corcus is going to tell Jason where it is. I mean, this is a good plan. He's given him plenty of time to go find the Zeo crystal, maybe tap into its new powers, and get ready for this invasion. How long does Jason have? Well, let's see here. Aquitar is just about wrapped up. Quick little after party, a couple of drinks, somebody will give a little bit of a speech. Then we hop on the highway to Earth, carry the Zero. You've got about 2 hours, Jason. Thanks, Corcus. The signal is then lost, and Corcus likely dies shortly thereafter. Yay! Jason, having heard Corcus give this desperate message that invasion is coming to Earth in 2 hours, and he needs to go find the Zeo crystal, decides that he has to go talk to Tommy anyway first. He has his own twisted logic to it, saying that if Tommy switches back to Rita's side, that's 3 enemies he has to deal with in the short term instead of 2. He arrives in the woods and finds Tommy, and Jason handles this about as badly as he possibly could. When Tommy admits that his prize for this deal is getting Kimberly back, and that it's Jason's fault that Kimberly died, Jason takes absolutely no responsibility. He says it's her fault that she died. Well, not exactly her fault, more like her responsibility. Her life was in her own hands and she died as a warrior, but still, this is not what Tommy wants to hear right now. Astoundingly, this doesn't work. Even with Jason telling Tommy that Zed and Vile are on their way to Earth, he's switched sides again, Jason. That's his side now. They're coming to help him. Jason's chance to get Tommy back on his side was sympathy, and he failed miserably at that. They fight, with Jason eventually getting the upper hand. But Tommy stands back up, activates his morpher, calling out dragon power. Green energy forms around his body, and that's where the movie ends, to be continued. Seeing as 7 years later, most of us are only just now learning this film even existed, I'm pretty sure there was never a follow-up on that to be continued. I'm not going to go with the whole formal pros and cons thing for this, but I will tell you what I liked and what I didn't. The biggest thing in this movie's favor is its visuals. A lot about this film is very visually impressive. Green screen shots, there are a lot of them, but they're done very well with good lighting to balance them in. The unreal external shots, the command center ship, Rita's palace ship, are quite good. I mentioned loving how the portals have actual backgrounds in them with different locations. The one morphing sequence we got was quite good. There are some pretty good acting performances in this. My favorite is Alpha 6, played by Drea Monzone, and apologies for any mispronunciations, who mainly seems to work in production design, but is in a currently ongoing production as an actress, so hey, good for you. Alpha now being a cyborg, she injects just enough humanity into the performance to demonstrate emotion and concern and care. Rita was played by Kat Lakohe, a character actress that was in an episode of CSI Vegas in 2021. It was a good performance, it's just throughout the movie I was thinking that it wasn't because I kept comparing it to TV show Rita. It wasn't until after the movie was done that I realized why I thought it was good in spite of that. It's not giving Barbara Goodson Rita Repulsa. It's giving Elizabeth Banks Rita Repulsa, and that's a valid take, and I liked it. Cold, calculating, alluring, and even seductive in a way. Goldar, Marcus Green, or Fontoro, I guess, was another great performance. Great might be stretching it, but it's the word I said. Damien, played by Gregory Battle, who seemingly stopped acting in 2019, has a stunts credit from 2021. A nice turn as the kind of insane military general. He turns on Earth from a purely strategic standpoint and shows kind of a tortured, worn down over time kind of thing. By the by, funny enough, he's also credited as Rito Revolto, even though that never actually resolved. Funny little note here, the dead man that Emily finds at the start of the movie, that was played by Mark Newton, the film's co-director, along with Paolo Carascone, who played Jason and was also the movie's only writer. Okay, on to the bad. As I warned, the number one con against this movie is its fight choreography. I know that fight choreography is not easy, but every fight scene in this movie tore me kicking and screaming from the experience. Everything is half speed with no impact. It feels like they're play fighting. And in a Power Rangers movie, you don't want the fights to be what takes you out of the experience. The writing, sorry Paolo, also suffers. The movie has this weird problem where on one hand, it trips over itself delivering bucket loads of exposition. There are multiple scenes in this movie that feel like video game dialogue boxes. What is this? Explanation. What is that? Explanation. Why? Explanation. Explanation. Then Corcus, a ranger from another team, shows up with very little explanation, name drops Master Vile and Hydro Hog and the Zeo Crystal, and leaves. That's the weird part. The very basic stuff that I feel like most people just in society get about Power Rangers, what's a Morpher, what's a Zord, etc., is painstakingly explained. The deep cut lore? We'll explain that later. Or I guess we won't. And the strike 3 that pushed this movie over the good line into bad territory for me is the tone. It started out feeling okay. The story generally is a little bit dark, end of the world stuff, a lot of the Rangers are dead, the world is suffering, etc. Then the tone just really started rolling downhill. Jason is morphed, fighting humans, breaking arms, slashing throats. Goldar, a beloved villain in the series, is beheaded, his bleeding head held high by our hero. There are a lot of spots in this movie, especially towards the end, where it takes things just a little too far. This film surprised me. Really, it did. A lot of effort was put into this, and the writer is clearly a fan of the franchise. The story kept me engaged from start to finish. Tighten up the writing a little bit, get some better fight choreography, I'd have been happy to see more. Heck, I'd actually still be happy to see more. The Tommy and Master Vile dangling threads, Zack, the only Ranger that we don't see at any point, flashback or current times. I have a sneaking suspicion that Jasmine is supposed to be his daughter, but they don't make that a clear reference. I think a follow-up would be interesting at the very least. Pressed for a score on this one, I'm going to give MMPR The Last Ranger Parody VII a score of 2 out of 5. I almost gave it a 2.5, but even though people would consider a score of 3 average, 2.5 is right down the middle of a 5-point scale, and I think it needs to go over into that bad area, even though there are some good things about it. Great visuals and an interesting story, held back by some kind of bad acting and some really bad fight choreography. Well, I think that's going to go ahead and wrap this review up. If you know of any other, at least partially decent MMPR or Power Rangers fan films that I might have missed, let me know down in the comments below and maybe I will take a look at them. But that is going to do it for this special review video. Thank you so much as always for watching. Down in the comments below, if you watched this movie, what did you think of it? What was your favorite part? What was some stuff that you really didn't like? Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're down there, make sure you smack that thumbs up button to let me know that you enjoyed this video. Until next time, heroes, may the power protect you. A human face with a cybernetic eyepiece, kind of like 7 of 9, with the rest of the body supporting blah, 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 blah. We don't have any of the yo of the Alpha 6 we had in the a human face with a cybernetic eyepiece, a la 7 of 9, while the rest of the body supports sports, not supports, sports. I like sports. I shouldn't have so much trouble with that word. Damien pulls him aside and says the cheese is getting using the Rita is the daughter of Master Vile, a sorceress with a character actress who was in an episode of CSI Vegas in 2001. Where Zack is, the only ranger that we don't see referenced at any